Welcome to the American Roadrunner Podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all could join us here today on this, the American Roadrunner Podcast. I don't know about you all, but boy, I always get freaking excited when I hear Meek's music playing. Life's good. Just means good things are about to happen. Today, on the American Roadrunner Podcast, this is where we share stories from the road in our two-wheeled motorcycle machines. All tales of spills, thrills, and chills. All the good, bad, and ugly stories from the open road. We're very excited today. We got a dirty biker in studio talking with dirty bikers about dirty bikers. Casey, glad you could join us here today.
Good to be here.
Nice. Well, this is where you get to introduce yourself for us so we know who the heck you are.
My name's Casey. I'm a Canyon hooligan, big bicycle rider and motorcycle rider, as well as motorcycle and bicycle mechanic.
So you wear spandex?
Just the shorts under regular
Under
shorts.
shorts.
Just for comfort.
Listen, you got my vote, man. You guys are out there pedaling your butts off wearing spandex. I mean, it's not like exciting or anything. I'm just saying I would never be wearing that spandex in public.
You wish you could, though.
Maybe. Well, honestly, I can.
Yeah.
It's everything above the waist we worry about.
Yeah.
Everything below the waist is just fine.
You just look like
I wouldn't mind showing off a little.
Got the tight pants looking like a muffin.
That'd be bitching. That'd be way bitching.
So, Casey, how old are you and how long you been riding?
I'm 25. Been riding bicycles pretty much my whole life and riding motorcycles for about 9 years.
Cool. And what was your first motorcycle?
I had a Honda Ruckus scooter, if you can call that a motorcycle.
Totally counts.
Yeah.
Hashtag little
counts.
bike pervert. Totally counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little 50cc Honda. It was pretty cool. I rode it for about a year.
You didn't have the build-up kit in it? I think you can bump them up to
Yeah, you
75
customize
or
it?
something. Right?
No, I stretched it out. I did little cosmetic mods, and then
Nice.
after the whole first year, I'd kind of decided with the 1500 I saved up, do I convert the motor to a 150 or do I buy a big bike and sell it?
Right,
Buy
right.
a big bike.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
You
right.
leveled
It's a
up.
150
Yeah,
convertible.
happy with
up.
the choice.
Good.
Well, I get it. My little brother used to cruise around Redlands on one of those. They were in some type of scooter trash club. I forget.
I rode with those Redlands people.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am a big fan. I mean, I'm a big fan of anything that goes, but little bikes are always a lot of fun. I wish they'd go a little faster with me on them, but for some reason they don't.
It
But
didn't go that fast with me on there either.
Yeah,
I hit
that's
45 if I was lucky.
Right, because you're like a $110,
Oh, yeah.
sopping wet, if that. Well, good on you. I'm sure that probably
$1.15.
really helps.
Very aerodynamic. The artwork of American Roadrunner can be found by The Bow Monster. That's The Bow Monster on Instagram. Also check out www.bomonster.com. The Bow Monster. All right, so Casey, what do you ride now?
Right now I have a 2017 Kawasaki Z650.
Cool,
That
cool.
thing sure is sexy. I've seen pictures of it. Although I've never seen pictures of it with both wheels on the ground.
It happens.
There's
it happens.
usually a wheel up. The front wheel usually.
Was it made
Yeah.
that way? I mean,
I don't know. It has issues. I
unicycle?
don't know. Something's wrong with it.
But you have a lot of fun with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, the bike I had before this was almost the same bike. It was the Ninja 650. And I had that, rode it for about 5 years, got about 55,000 miles.
Nice.
And then bought another 650. I mean, it's a really good platform to ride.
Yeah,
It was
really
easy
is.
to learn on. And once you learn how to ride, I mean, I'd ride the crap out of it. And, I mean, it holds up really well. It's super fun, fast enough. I mean, it tops out at 135, and I usually don't
No, that would be
near that
illegal
fast.
unless you're out land speed racing. That
Yeah, it's like
speed
you
is
don't
way
need to
too
go any
fast.
faster than that, and I don't even
Right.
usually go that fast. It's like it's perfect for the canyons, super good torque at the low RPM range. So
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. 650 is kind of a magic number. 600 is a good number too.
yeah,
But the way it just works out, the only difference between a 650 and a 750 is this outside diameter of, the actual piston. So with a 650, you're going to have a bit more torque. And I know back in the day, it was said the KZ 650s actually went faster than the KZ 750s.
are those 4 cylinders?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, this one's just a twin too. That's
Right,
I love
right.
it for the maintenance too. I mean, super
Yeah.
easy to do valve adjustments.
Yeah, you've only got 2 of
everything's
them.
a lot quicker. Yeah.
You've only got 2 carburetors as well.
No, fuel injectors.
Whatever. I'm not talking to you. We don't get to talk
What are
about
those?
stoichiometry, anything. But it all plugs in at the top, like
yeah.
the top front cylinder, back cylinder. The flappers are on top. Nice. Very nice.
You know what? I'm looking at your Instagram right now and seeing you doing some riding in the hills and stuff. First of all, what is your Instagram?
It's letters KC Rider 187.
Cool. Casey Rider 187. So where do you like to ride when you're doing the kind of stuff that we see the video and photographs of?
A lot of GMR, Glendora Mountain Road, and Azusa, as well as I hit up Apex, the little kart track as well.
Okay.
They let us take our bikes on. It's
Where's that
really
at?
fun.
Where's the kart track?
It's over by Paris Auto Speedway. It's next
Really?
door. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, I always assumed that
It's
was
a little
part of
mini
Paris
track. It's like
Odyssey. Yeah.
$40 for the whole day. Can't
Yeah.
beat it. I mean, I'm not big into doing full track days, especially because I can't take it on. I'll have to take the cage off my bike. I don't think they allow full cages at most tracks.
Well, they don't
But-
want you digging into the asphalt.
Yeah,
with them. Yeah.
but there at Apex, I mean, you could show up. They don't even really do much tech inspection. I mean, as long as you got the right gear and everything, it's a little small track. You know, I mean, you can't. It's hard. You could still get hurt, but you're not going anywhere near the speeds you would have full track day. So I kind of enjoy that. It's a little less risk, lots of fun.
You're able to break out the rear end okay? Get it moving around the corners, or
A little
you keep
bit.
it pretty tight?
I do it more just for fun, but when I'm actually trying to ride for speed and stuff, I don't usually throw the back end out too much. Haven't
Yeah.
got that much confidence in that part yet.
Yeah, I'm not very. I always hit an uneven bit of pavement, and I can get it out, but then I'll hit a slick spot, and it goes a different way. And
Oh yeah.
by the time it starts going, it surprises me. So, you know, I end up pulling in the clutch, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
The way some of these guys do it, it looks
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'll just be the one, locking it up to like park my bike just to slide in, but not really getting too crazy with it.
Well, and it's very important. It's nice to keep that kind of funness on the track, and that's a
Oh, yeah.
benefit. Everyone knows where the track is, including the ambulances. It's like people who freak out that I'm land speed racing. You're going, I'm going fast in a straight line in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in the middle of nowhere. I'm surrounded by ambulances. It doesn't really matter how fast I'm going because I pass a rigorous tech inspection. I got all my gear. Land speed racing is probably the safest thing I do. So tracks are always a lot safer. I'm always a huge proponent of that. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's $40 for the day,
Oh yeah, you can't beat it. I mean, I haven't got a chance to take this new 650 out there yet, but I'm going to pretty soon.
Nice.
Canyons are cool and I love them, but man, I don't know. It's just one of those things like I try to come and go, not get too involved all the time because it's just there are chances of things happening and
Yeah.
there's
yeah.
other people out there and you just want to
There's a lot of other
I try
people
to
out
limit
there.
limit the chances as much as possible. Had a couple run-ins with issues, but
Yeah, well, I think, the biggest secret is as long as you're always looking at safety. I'm
Yeah.
glad I could bring that up. Welcome to Bob's Safety Tip Minutes. The secret is do not look at the danger, look at the safety, and your bike will follow. That's it. As long as you're looking at the safety.
look where
I've
you want
learned,
to go.
yeah, you look where you want to go. Look at the safest route, and boy, it's amazing. Your bike will take you there.
Yep.
Wherever you're looking. I think naturally as humans, we like to rubberneck. Actually, there's a big study done after. It was right before World War II, and they figured out it's dead reckoning. That's how we know it. I don't remember if it was a naval study. Anyways, what's dead reckoning? Why are pilots crashing into? Why are people running into the danger? Why But that's what it was. So I know they all worked real hard instructing people to look away from the danger. There's even an optometrist that we follow a lot of our safety practices off of. His name was Smith. You can buy into the Smith driving practices, but it's rules like that: aiming high and steering, braking early, blah blah blah. But your eye, you only really use 3% of your eye. So if you can really get your eyes to work for you, it should be pretty golden. But number one rule: look towards the safety, not the danger. Stop
Yeah.
rubbernecking, people.
Well, I've heard something like that. If you're driving a car and you get in a spin out or something, hit some black ice, you're supposed to look where you want to go, and you just naturally adjust because
yeah,
it's like an extension of yourself. So
It
you're just
is.
able to naturally steer the car to where you want to go.
No, and I write about that in my book a lot, that the motorcycle to me is no different than putting on a pair of shoes, and I'm not looking where my shoes are going. I'm just getting it there. It's all second
Yeah.
nature by the time you've done it for a little while, and once you
Yeah.
get comfortable on the machine. no matter what the machine is, a tank, everything but a train,
Yeah.
because a train doesn't have a steering wheel.
And what I recall from our conversations we had with retired Pomona PD
Yes.
Rory Tom Hoon,
Yes.
he always had to look out for people running into him on the side of the road
right.
because they're looking, they want to rubberneck and see what's going on.
That's
Why are the
right.
cop lights flashing? You got pulled over, and then they end up steering over there and hitting them. So that's what they always got to look out for.
Yeah, well, and it happens to me a lot. It happens to me a lot. Big rigs, whatever. I'm going down the road and they start pulling over into my lane because they're busy looking out the rearview mirror. What the hell is this freak show behind me, or on the side of me? And it's a lot worse when I'm on my Goldwing and I'm pulling my Rebel on the trailer behind me. I mean, every car I see comes into me because they spend more than 3 or 4 seconds looking in the rearview mirror trying to figure out why there's a little bike following a big bike. So. And just a quick shout out to one of our Riverside locals, Speed King Cycles. Steve and Amy can hook you up with all your custom needs for Harleys and beyond. Speed King Cycles here in Riverside. I hear they might also be carrying one acclaimed book, American Roadrunner. Check them out, Riverside, Speed King Cycles. Let's talk about pedaling. You like to pedal a bit.
Yeah, I ride fixed gear bikes and I ride mountain bikes too as well.
Right, fixed gear being...
basically the back wheel's fixed to the front.
Right.
Chain wheel, there's no coasting, there's no brakes.
No brakes.
You are the brakes, your legs are.
Which is kind of how the original bikes were set up. They had a really big wheel in front. You had to climb up them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what you're doing. You're just doing it
you
with
can't. If you're
gears.
rolling, you're pedaling. After a while, you really don't think about it so much.
Right.
But the other day, I actually had been riding my mountain bike a lot.
Right.
And I was leaving work and I got on my fix and I was riding down the street and I went to stand up real quick and almost flew off the bike.
Nice.
Just tried to coast for a second, completely relax my legs and
Nice.
almost flew off. But
Yeah, you got to remember.
So a fixed bicycle is like the equivalent of a chopper?
Well, that's one way to put it, I reckon. I mean, you just got to remember.
like the sketchiest, most simple bike.
Just strip down to the bare bones of what you need kind of thing.
Yeah, basically. I mean, maintenance is chain.
Yeah.
Check your tires. I mean, pretty much nothing.
And I think with our chain technology, you've been able to, tensile strength has just gone nuts the last 20 years on chains. You're probably too young to remember, but there used to be a time when chains were an issue. And I know old Harleys, for example, they'd use a 530 chain, but guys would go through chains like no tomorrow. I got pictures of my dad where he's got master links hanging off his boots. They tie them into their boots because they needed them so much. Yeah, exactly, because you never knew when you were going to bust one. And they carry that in a file, so you could file off a busted link and then put a master link in its place, that type of thing. Even the KZ1000s originally came with a 630 chain, which is they were just huge. And originally I stretched my cop bike, the one that's in the book. The chain weighed like 45 pounds. I mean, it was 120 links of 630. It was so big. And when I remember when it blew on me once in the middle of Texas, and it took out the whole drive side cover of my engine, and I was leaking oil like a sieve. So there I am in Texas with a busted chain, and I'm leaking just a crap ton of oil. So I ended up ripping it all apart. This was several years ago at the where was I? I was at the Giddy Up, New Brunsville, Texas, and I'm on the side of the road putting this back together. So I ended up ripping it apart, JB welding this cover all back together, the power cover, and slowly but surely I made my way back to California with it. But the whole time, the master link was new and the other chain wasn't, so the bike's going round, 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 and I think I went through 4 gallons of oil and X amount of gallons of gasoline, but I spent more in oil than I spent in gasoline trying to get back because this chain just did so much damn damage. So since then I've gone to a 530 conversion. You can actually get the tensile strength out of a 530 chain now that you used to get out of a 630, and they had to use 630s because those KZ1000s had so much horsepower back in the day. They just didn't make a chain that was big enough. So that's a wonderful thing about chains, and that's why we can have fixed gear bicycles now, because there's actually the tensile strength in the chain. How many miles do you get on a bicycle fixed chain? I suspect it's not very much.
Oh man, I'd probably change my chain maybe once every 2-3 years.
Oh, okay. So then
about
it's
2
not-
years.
Okay.
But I run. It's a half link chain too, so it's really beefy.
It's like the best of the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also rainbow. The chain is
Okay.
rainbow, so that adds
Okay.
extra strength. So
Yeah, I use Sabakis myself. If anyone's interested, I mean, I'm not sponsored by Subaki, but TSU Baki, Subaki, they're a Japanese company. I spend almost $300 a chain, and it's
man.
well worth it. After throwing that $150 chain in the middle of Texas, I just gave up, and you know what? I just buy the best, most expensive chain I can, and they happen to be Japanese made, and they're called Tsubakis. So I got that from an old Harley guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like, if it works for his old Harleys, it should work okay for my KZ1000 and a 530 instead of a 630. But no, chains used to be a lot bigger deal than they are now. So I'm glad it's still working for you. I used to race bicycles. Did you know that?
no. Would you ride BMX?
Yeah, BMX,
okay.
man. Once that movie Rad came out, like we were in.
I love that movie, Rad.
Oh my gosh,
I'm telling everybody right now, you have to see the movie Rad, even if you're not into bicycles. It's a keystone of the 80s, and it was
I'll go a
such a
step
big part of my
further.
development.
Yeah, well, I'll go a step further and I'll mention the movie Bike Bandits. Did you ever see that one?
I don't think I saw
It
that
was
one.
Nicole Kidman's first movie. She's
did.
like
Okay.
16. Yeah. It was like
she was
Australia.
cute.
It was
She
like
was so cute.
BMX Australia.
Yeah.
They were like murderers that they're trying to chase down or something. It was crazy.
Shout
It
out
was
to
great.
Nicole Kidman.
Oh man, Bike Bandits. That was a good movie. Yeah, no, I race BMX, and I'm actually having a lot of fun writing a prequel about it right now.
Oh, cool.
Just about my BMX days. For us, it was all about
Self-plug.
family time. Yeah, right. Self plug. I'm telling you, I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm writing it all on a typewriter just to bug Brian. No, I'm just kidding. But it's nice to, it's nice to remember all the cool stuff that I used to do. And it wasn't that I was doing, I was just pedaling. But it was myself, my older sister, my younger brother, and even my baby sister. We'd get out to the track and they would have, the little kids would do like, what were those? The big wheels. Remember the 3-wheel things that they had to
Yeah.
get? So they'd do those little races.
I had those.
But my dad would just throw all our bikes, and all the neighborhood kids, we'd all throw our bikes on the motorhome, and off we went, man. It was great family time. I've got many a memory of my dad with that big freaking steering wheel in front of him bouncing down the road in our big old Winnebago and bicycles tied to the back, or he'd tie him to the top of his Caprice Classic. Like,
Did you have the pegs on the wheels? Did you do tricks? Like, did you have the full gyro,
Oh, yeah.
handlebars, and everything?
Well, I had one bike for that, and that bike was a Schwinn, and it was a newer one. But I was sponsored by CW, so I used CW frames, and I ended up getting about 3 of them. Do you ever hear that one, CW?
No, that's my initials.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Right. So I would, I'd use CW frames, and I would use, we got everything. We had Amy grips and mushroom grips, and we had the California light pad. I mean, we had Vans. I got new Vans every 3 months.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was, when you're like 8, 9 years old, like this was killer stuff. We were real fortunate, and that was back in the day before the internet, so we would just my sister would just like send off letters to places, and bam, we'd get sponsorship.
Like actually write
Like
handwrite
actually,
letters.
I think she used a typewriter, but yeah, she would send off letters, and they'd send back just piles of stuff. Man, they were so happy. Oh, you have a family race team? Heck yeah! Here's your crap. Enjoy.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was quite the experience.
You always
So-
had the cool kicks.
Mhm.
Always had the Vans on.
Well, and we'd make sure I'd get the ones. Oh, what's Martin Aparejo wearing? Oh, lime green. I want those.
I had the checkered Vans.
I think Eddie Fabiola wore those.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's backwards. I was always getting those guys mixed up.
And then also I had the knockoff Vans because my mom worked for Mervin's
Oh,
way back in the
cool,
day. So
cool.
I had what was called Airwalks. I know they're still around.
Nice.
They might be. I mean, Payless went under and they carried
We would have kicked your
Airwalks.
butt.
But yeah,
at
the
school
the
if you
Airwalk,
wore
I
Airwalks.
loved them because they had the flying monkey little logo. It's like the back of this monkey, and it's
Right,
like arms
right.
and legs flying
Right.
out.
Right?
Yeah, man,
The
to be a
80s.
kid again. To be a kid.
Well, and I kind of enjoy that. Like Casey's still like rocking it, man.
Yeah.
He's still like freaking pedaling all over the
Trying to
place.
keep both.
Yeah.
Up and down Mount Rubidoux.
Well, that's what's cool is you don't really need to grow up anymore. You
No,
can fall
there's
in love
so
with
much.
something and you know, just keep on doing it. And you know, speaking of, from what I understand, you do what you love. It's like not even like a job. Where do you work and what do you do?
Currently, I work at Jensen USA, and I'm a bike builder.
Jensen USA.
I get to build some of the nicest mountain bikes I've ever seen on the daily, so it's kind of nice. Kind of like start to forget how expensive some of these things are. But
you get a good discount, or you just conveniently take stuff home and stuff.
No, I think we get things at about cost.
Yeah.
So it depends on what it is, but yeah, for the most part, I get most of the parts I want, or like things I usually never would have been able to really put out the money for. I mean, I could get little parts when I want to. I mean, it's not too bad.
So it's like you don't even work. Like you just go and you do something you love every day.
Build bikes, get to test ride them in the back.
Yeah.
Usually, got to test out the brakes. Got to do some wheelies. So.
Cool.
Make
And
sure
then
it
like
doesn't
at the end
break.
of the day, you're like, oh, it's been 8 hours. Okay, I guess I'll go home. Can't wait to come back to work.
Ride a bicycle home.
We should
Or
all be so
motorcycle.
fortunate.
and Jensen is here in town, or
Yeah, it's still technically Riverside, but it's
Okay.
pretty close to Moval. It's right up by the 60 freeway.
where that
East Ridge.
F-16 just crashed.
Pretty close.
Right,
Pretty close.
right. Did that
Looked like our warehouse, but it wasn't.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Yeah, we were all a little worried about that. F-16 crashed into a warehouse. That was nuts. That was a busy, crazy day.
Pilot escaped though.
Pilot escaped.
Yeah,
No one died.
Nobody was hurt in the warehouse.
I know.
There was
that's
people
weird.
in there, but nobody got seriously hurt.
Could you imagine you're just all hanging out working and a freaking plane comes through the roof?
I literally thought about. I was hearing them fly over maybe 2-3 days before that had happened. And I was like
Right.
thinking about like, what if like a bomb dropped through, or what if a plane?
Uh-huh.
Just because they just kept flying over all day, and then that literally happened a couple of days later. So
Jinxed it.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Well, it is something we deal with, being so close to an air reserve
That's
base.
crazy.
It's a fair weather base, so
And
who knows
it
what
is
they're doing
one
up
of the
there.
safest places to be is near, a
Yeah.
military base.
Maybe, unless
Oh.
people get mad and start shooting up military bases. I don't know.
Check out our friend Jake with the Flying Dutchman Co. With all your motorcycle and customization needs. That's the Flying Dutchman Co. You can find him on Instagram and YouTube at the Flying Dutchman Co.
So I suspect when you even ride your bicycles, you wrap yourself up in bubble wrap, like everyone else. No.
No.
Do you wear the really little helmet? I never understood the little helmet on the bicycle.
I actually just got my first bicycle helmet once I started working at this job at Jensen USA.
So you've got the
So-
little itty bitty. I don't think it does anything.
It's
Does it
just-
do
no,
anything?
Well, this one's actually it's like a mountain bike helmet technically,
Okay.
but I mean it would if
Full
you.
face or
I have a full face. I don't really use it. It's just like the one that goes on top. But I mean, I feel like it's better than having nothing, especially because some of the
Yeah.
trails we ride, you're going like pretty close to flipping over the bars sometimes. Pretty
on the mountain
downhill.
bikes.
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of big rocks. So I mean, it's not bad to have. I never wore a bicycle helmet ever, but I mean, I think it's a good thing to start. You
Yeah.
gotta protect your head. I mean, you could take one hit to your head, and I mean that could be it. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I
yeah,
wear
especially when
helmets
there's
almost
rocks everywhere,
everywhere.
it's hard to ignore the dangers. Plus, everybody around, like everybody with the company is really safety involved, and
Okay.
if basically I was that one guy that didn't wear a helmet. Like I
Uh-huh.
was the odd one out, so I
Right.
figured, yeah, why not? And I
Join
got a
the club.
discount on a good helmet, so
That's cool.
It's
Join
comfy.
the club.
Have you seen those like bicycle airbag helmet things where it's I saw them like 2 years ago. I don't know if there's like a GoFundMe campaign for it, but it looks like you're wearing a scarf, right?
No.
And then if somehow it's got some sort of computer processor that it can feel if you're in an accident, like it can feel you
And then it
doing
puffs
something,
up like a
and
Hans
yeah, the
device.
scarf like inflates instantly,
Okay.
and it covers your head like a helmet, and it's
Wow.
so weird seeing these videos of they have, of course, attractive women riding a bicycle, and then they like hit something,
Poof,
and
their
like you
head's a
just see in
freaking
slow
egg.
how
motion.
they
this-
look ridiculous.
Wow.
yeah, it's this inflatable helmet that just
Kind of like Chris Farley's them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so cool. I don't know if that's actually coming out, but
Maybe
it
they
seemed
had
like
a
such a good
startup.
idea. It was one of the European countries where they have a lot of bikes, like Denmark or Norway, and
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like a good idea. I mean, it only has to save one life, and I know, obviously at land speed racing they'll use the Hans devices. All the guys in cars, not the guys on motorcycles, but those Hans devices are terribly expensive, and they're not expensive for what they are. They're expensive because they insure your neck. I think, they're like $1,200 or $1,400. I mean, they're nuts. And owning them, you got to be registered as the owner, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that all falls under insurance. You look at it, it looks like $100 device, but it isn't. It's much more expensive, and you have to have them. And it's great because my fellow mates on the in the club, they put them on and they're in the car and they can't move their head. I mean, it's so you can slap on side of the helmets when the doors open, and they can't do anything about it because they can't see you. They can't. They get pretty.
You've seen the MotoGP racers? They all have those suits now. That if they get into an accident, and I think there might be like a rip cord that when they fly off the bike.
Oh, really?
But the suit puffs up.
Oh, puffs up a little.
Just
That's
blows
cool.
up, kind of creates a little more cushion.
Well, those suits are really exciting.
Yeah, those
what
gotta
they've
be
done.
super expensive,
I mean,
too.
they've gone from. I don't think the doctor has broken anything in 3 or 4 years. Those suits have gotten so advanced by the doctor. I
It's
mean,
kind of
number
like a flight
43.
suit kind of thing. It inflates.
I think it's just like a basic tracksuit, but then it has these areas built in that I don't know how it fills up there, but
Wow.
Do you have a tracksuit yourself? I have a tracksuit, but
I
mine's
do.
very different.
I have an Alpine Star suit I wear
Okay.
every time I go to the canyons or track.
Nice.
I wear full boots, about like, I don't know what you call it, below the knee, but
Yeah.
high boots.
Right.
I wear a back protector, have a nice like race certified helmet and good gauntlet gloves. Basically everything you need. And I already just tested out the gloves recently, or tested everything out recently.
Oh, you got
how's
the
that?
slide?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in Azusa. It was November, and I was coming up with my friends, just doing a regular Sunday canyon run. And we had barely got up there. We're getting close to Crystal Lake, and I was coming into a left-hand corner. And as I was approaching it, there was another rider actually coming down the road in the opposite lane.
Wow.
And I could tell by his body positioning he wasn't going to make the corner. And
Yeah.
as soon as he got close to the yellow line, it just looked like it grabbed a whole handful of front brake and just dumped his bike. And it was coming right at me. Him and his bike slid into my lane. And there's like a 1 foot gap between him and the bike. And I was ready for the bike to take me out. And like the last second, I ended up actually going over his legs and flying off the bike. So I kind of like jumped over like a speed bump.
Yeah.
And bike flew on the side, tested out the crash cage. Shout out to Impact Tech. Great cage. I was able to ride the bike home.
Thank you,
so that was
Impact Tech.
awesome.
Yeah.
Bike's still fine. I flew pretty far. It's got a little banged up, but unfortunately for the other rider, he ended up with a broken arm, a concussion, and a pretty bad broken leg. But I actually talked to him recently just to see how he's doing, and he's actually doing pretty well. He said he's walking again. He can run.
Nice.
They said the screws bother him a little bit, and where they fix his leg.
Right.
I'm not sure if those are permanent or if they'll be removed, but I mean,
Is he gonna get your name tattooed on his leg?
no.
I think he got his name tattooed on his leg with a scar.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, fortunately, it could have been way worse. I mean, it still was pretty bad. He did have to get airlifted, and like the whole time I was kind of freaking out. I didn't know the severity of the injury. I wasn't even sure where I had hit him at the time.
Sure.
But I mean, fortunately, he was okay. Everyone was basically okay, like in the long run. And I mean,
And that's all due to your equipment.
unfortunately, he didn't have any real gear. He was in jeans, but I think he just had a helmet and gloves
Yeah.
and maybe a jacket. But I mean, the only damage I got, I got sore and beat up, and my arm was a little hurt. But I mean, for the most part, my suit saved a bunch of road rash from happening to me. I mean, I even got a little road rash on my hip from the heat of the suit sliding.
Right.
Whoa.
It didn't even tear through. But I mean, if I didn't have that, like, I already know what happens. I crashed my first 650 after my first year riding, and I had my bones showing on my left arm. I had road rash across my whole body. I had a t-shirt on and skate shoes. My feet went through the bottom of the shoes. It was pretty terrible, but I met my current wife from that crash, so I'm not upset about it. But
Regardless, it hurt like
worked
a
out.
son of a bitch.
yeah,
so.
but yeah, it sucked. And after that, I learned how to wear gear, wear
Yeah.
jackets in the middle of
Well,
summer.
and you've got like the zippers on your suit, so if it's hot, you can open it up while you ride and get some air
the
in.
suit has no zippers, but it's
Okay.
perforated, so it's not that
Okay,
bad. I
okay.
mean, I deal with it, get home, take a shower. I mean,
So that's what they mean
I
when
wear
they
a
say.
camelback. It's
Yeah.
That's what they
drinking
mean when
water.
they say dress for the fall. Don't
the
dress for
slide.
the ride.
Dress for the slide, not the ride.
That's what it is. I like that.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, you don't. Unfortunately, so many people I've ridden with, they only learn after something happens, which sucks. But if there's anything I could stress enough, I mean, don't wait till you get hurt, because you just regret it. I mean, just wear the gear. It doesn't look uncool. I mean, you can get gear that looks pretty cool. I think mine looks all right.
Yeah, I've been wearing. Well, I just got back from EDR a few weeks ago, but I've been wearing the overalls, and they've got the pads in the knees, which is nice, and extra layering. They're a little hot. They look really stupid, but I really enjoy that. Nice. Thanks. It is nice to have not have all the pressure on the bladder, and that's. Well, I write about it in my book too. You know that it's okay not to have all that pressure on your bladder, so I can go a little longer. But they work real well, and I got a new jacket, and it's pretty perforated, so you don't really even notice it, but it is covered in the elbow pads, shoulder pads, etc.
Where you need it.
Yeah, people thought, and I got to tell you, when I was moving, it was fine. I couldn't tell I was wearing it.
Yeah.
But when I stopped, it felt like I was wearing a light jacket, and it's 90 degrees out. You know,
Yeah, it's my commuting jacket. When I'm moving, it's perforated really well, and it feels good. But yeah, when you stop, you're like, yeah, I'm still wearing a leather jacket.
Yeah.
At a stoplight with a radiator fan blowing heat on me. So.
Exactly. That's a hard one to get around, but boy, when I'm moving, when you're moving, it's fine.
Just gotta stay moving.
Yeah, just run the red lights, keep moving. I'm
keep
just
lane
kidding.
splitting.
Keep on sharing them lanes, make it all work.
So when you said you were riding in Azusa near Crystal Lake, I couldn't help but think of Jason, you know. And I guess this was a little bit of a different horror story with your accident, which I would have never believed if I didn't see the video.
Yes.
And maybe you can tell us about that. You have a pretty cool video kit.
Oh yeah, I've always run a camera for maybe the past 3 years or so.
What kind of camera is it?
Right now I'm running the GoPro Session. It's like the cheapest Session. I think they're about $150. Has basically one button that you normally use when you're riding. It turns the camera on, starts recording with one button, and then you hit it again, turns the camera off and stops recording. So it's really nice for being on your helmet when you can't really see.
Yeah.
I use the chin mount. I mount it under, like, right where your chin would be.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, you can use the basic GoPro mounts on some, but mine, I have the AGV Corsa helmet, and it's really pointed at the front. And fortunately, my friend Matt, he has a company called Cali Mounts. It's on Instagram, Cali Mounts. He makes custom 3D printed GoPro mounts for chin mount area. And he does all these different helmets that you normally wouldn't be able to mount a GoPro to there. So it's like custom fitted for that helmet specifically. And I got to test it out, and I mean, it's still good. So
yeah, you know,
it's a good perspective though.
I always see the people with the video on either the side of their helmet or on the top. And I would have never thought of, you know, putting it on the chin, but they're getting so much smaller now. You know, it's hardly noticeable.
Yeah, it's really cool. Easier to reach from there, and also, too, it doesn't catch the wind so much. That's why I like it. It kind of, you don't really notice the camera there, but I've had the camera on the top of the helmet.
Yeah. On
the side, and it kind of, you know, you get to a certain speed, and it starts pulling your helmet a little bit. So, and it looks cleaner.
Yeah. And is it, like, heavy at all? Like, do you want to pull your chin down because it has more weight?
Not with this camera. Maybe the older GoPros where they're bigger.
Where they're like a big VHS
Yeah, I used to have one of those older GoPros on the front, and it definitely, you could feel it on there. But once I got these little Sessions, they're just a little cube. So it's nice to have.
Yeah. You know, I hear DJI is kind of taking over GoPro's position in the market for those videos, but GoPro is still hanging on.
They're all right. They have little issues. They're a little finicky sometimes. I mean, if you don't have the right SD card or stuff like that, they'll freeze. But I mean, for the most part, they're decent. I'm sure there's gonna be some better stuff coming out though. Yeah, especially smaller.
And from what I hear, they're just good for the video the way it's recorded. Like, it's really hard to produce something with it because of the compression and everything for the GoPro videos. But yeah, I have a DJI like. What is it? It's like a cell phone kind of stabilizer thing. So I can run holding this thing.
Is it like a gimbal?
It's a gimbal, yeah. I can run with this thing, and it keeps steady. And I got it for playing
Have you
around
ran down the street with it to test it? Tracy, has he done this in the middle of the night to see how the
I didn't just run down the street. I streaked down the street holding this
the
DJI
camera.
Osmo thing with my phone on it, videotaping me. Man, it's really cool. But yeah, GoPro, DJI, they're all part of that video market.
Well, it is nice that you're able to share that part like this. I've enjoyed your videos because this is where my hand is on the clutch and my clutching position versus to get the front end up in the air. I think that's exciting for people. Oh, that's how you get the front end up in the air. I've learned when I get my front end up in the air, I end up killing my shocks coming down. It might have something to do with my mass versus your mass.
I had about a whole year of figuring that out.
Right,
I was
right.
bottoming out every time it came down, just smacking.
Yeah, you gotta be.
It's actually a lot in the foot brake to not slam the front end down.
Yeah,
If you can.
Just wait for it.
It's weird. Yeah, like you got to be dragging the foot brake the whole time, so you're not increasing the speed.
Right.
And then when you go to bring it down, you actually throw the wheelie back a little bit more, so then you can brake a little bit more, and then you actually cut your speed another 5 miles an hour, and then you're actually able to have some gas.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bring it down, because a lot of the time I was going until I'd hit the rev limiter, and you hit that rev limiter, and then you just cut out, and your bike just drops straight down.
Right. Not
smashing
cool.
nuts and.
Yeah.
A tear will, shed one tear and then you just do it again.
Shed one tear, have less kids.
Yeah.
Watch your hydraulics explode on the front end. I don't know where that leak came from. Yeah, no, I've learned, but that makes a lot of sense. But I've learned it just takes a second or two for everything to react,
Yeah.
and you just got to feel it out.
Just lots of, muscle memory practice
Yeah.
over and over.
Now, do you just do the wheelies, or are you doing the crazy stuff where you're throwing your legs in the air and
No, I'm
hanging
mostly
on it?
just like to do the canyon riding, like dragging knee and just having fun. And then I just
Yeah.
started learning the wheelie stuff later down the road. I was always doing wheelies on bicycles and stuff. And then there's a while I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I got really sick for a while, and I couldn't even ride my bicycle for like 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of forced to learn on my motorcycle and just like grow some balls and quit being scared, because that's what ended up really holding me back the whole time. I always tried, but I could never do it. It was just because I wasn't committing. And then I was able to just learn because I had to get my wheelie fixed. So
Yeah.
Just a quick thanks to one of our sponsors and friends, one Mr. Curtis Morgan with Ride 1K in a Day. He's getting the app put out. Check him out on the Instagram, Ride 1K in a Day. Challenge yourself, Ride 1K in a Day. How old were you when you figured out the Crohn's?
I think it was right around when I turned 22,
Wow.
22 or 23.
Just a few years ago.
Yeah,
then.
it wasn't that long ago. And
Yeah.
it was about a year of hell, like just basically ulcers throughout your whole digestive tract. And didn't
For
really
those who
know-
don't know what Crohn's
Oh,
disease
yeah.
is, it's basically
autoimmune
leaky
disease.
gut. Yeah.
Yeah, autoimmune disease. You get ulcers basically throughout your whole intestines, and it was pretty shitty. I mean, no pun intended, but like you dealt with that, for a long time. I was like pretty anemic for over a year, and fortunately I was able to get a job. My last job was a flat track mechanic, and I actually got it because that kind of happened to me.
Oh,
If I wouldn't have gotten sick, I wouldn't have got that job opportunity, and
yeah.
it was kind of nice to have a boss who understood. I was the only employee, so it was a small business. I kind of would just help out when I could, and then as I slowly regained my health with diet change and some medicine, it was good to kind of like grow and have something to focus on, to not be just dealing with a whole lifestyle change.
Right.
Changing everything I eat, everything I do, and also, at the same time I was able to focus on something I really was interested in, as building motors and building full motorcycles. So it was really nice to have it was like one side was really terrible stuff, but that the other side I was learning, really good things that I'll probably, do with it for the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
See the light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool that you're able to learn that kind of stuff, because it is an artisan trade, and it's definitely needed.
Yeah, well, and people just don't do that, especially in your generation. They just don't do it anymore. I know my
pay
little
somebody to
dude.
fix it kind of
Yeah, how do I buy the extended warranty, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I did not buy any
And I
warranties
don't-
with my new
yeah,
bike. I just
there's-
want to put that out
Your
there.
your middle name is warranty.
Yeah.
There's so many people who really worry about that, and I think, I mean, I see it all the time, and I don't understand that world. Everyone's busy hopping around the U.S. worried about their warranty on their motorcycle, and they concern about it. And I've never had a warranty on a machine, and I don't think I've ever had to have a machine towed. Actually, I
Well,
just kind
it's
of
a generational thing, because I know there's a huge swath of the population of young people that don't even know how to change a car tire. And these are things that they should have taught us in high school.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they really should have taught us how to do an oil change, how to, change a tire, do some
Valve
regular
stems.
maintenance and stuff. I mean, I never used calculus, but I could use, a little bit of car or motorcycle kind of utility.
Yeah, and I think the warranties are important if you don't wrench or if you feel like you don't have, the muscle, if you were terminally ill.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, they're necessary.
I mean, totally non sequitur, but I ride with a few women, and it makes them feel a lot better to have the warranties because they're not going to be out there on their hands and knees ripping their engines apart on the side of the road. Like
sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere. You got to know how to do a couple things. Right?
Yeah, and it makes them feel better to know a tow truck's on the way because I think naturally, and I really have a lot of admiration for that. Women traveling cross country deals with things a lot differently than men do. They've got a whole other aspect of things to deal with that we don't as men. Things that I don't even worry about. And I've asked them questions. Well, what do you mean? Just do this, and they're like, "Yeah, that'll get me raped in the middle of the night. I'm not interested." Oh, okay, yeah. Don't sleep next to your motorcycle on the side of the road. I get it. That makes a lot of sense. So
I would be afraid to do that.
I do it often, not often,
You do it all
every
the
so
time.
often.
Use your tire as
Handcuff
a
my
pillow.
arm to the frame.
Oh no, I just leave my helmet on.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
you
yeah,
leave your
yeah,
helmet
as a
on.
pillow.
Yeah, it holds your head perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really
that's true.
does.
Actually, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it
Camping
does well.
tips now from Bob.
How to sleep on the side of the road on your motorcycle. The rest stops work well, except for Florida. They're
Avoid
funny.
the rest stop bathrooms, though.
The what?
Avoid the rest stop bathrooms.
Well, if you got to go, you got to go.
gotta hover.
That's the gay meeting place now.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't, sorry.
I mean, unless you want to
Yeah.
meet some other gentleman,
No,
hey, go to the rest stop.
No, I'm too tired to do that when I'm moving. But it's nice to pull over and get a few hours of rest.
Yeah, it's just like unfortunate how I feel like there's so many more people these days who could actually physically work on their stuff, but it's just too easy to. I don't know. It's just everything they want to just like call.
Too easy to buy
call
the warranty.
AAA.
Call AAA.
It's convenient.
Yeah, but there's no better feeling, especially with a motorcycle, where it's like when you're in a car. I mean, if you have a flat, it's not like it's the end of the world all the time. But I mean, like stuff like that on a bike. I mean, you can't always fix a flat on the side of the road, but anything like if something happens, you're a lot more likely to hit the pavement.
Yeah.
If you have an issue, and there's no better feeling than like fixing your bike,
Right.
And you're the last one that worked on it. You did it, and you're responsible, and you ride it, and you can tell it's running correctly by the sound and the feel.
Exactly.
Like if you're gonna be trusting your life with it, the last thing I want to do is give it to a shop and then just get it back, assuming everything's
That's
fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to
Because you kind of
trust?
have to, if you do that. Like at some point, you kind of have to assume that they did do it correctly. And I mean, it's as long as you know the right shop. But I mean, at the same time, if you know how to do it, or you can learn how to do it. I mean, YouTube can teach you so much too, and it's kind of trial and error. And you know if you did it right.
Yeah.
YouTube can teach you so much.
It can.
No, and you're absolutely right.
It's really good.
I have a lot of fun with that on any small thing I want to do.
And that's got to be a good sense of accomplishment when you do something yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like whenever I'm cooking, sometimes I
thing,
cook
yeah.
something and it just tastes better when you
Yeah.
do it yourself.
No,
agree.
I cook for my children all the time, and people are like, "What is this?" I go, "Listen, it's good. I cooked it myself for my children. I did for mine. I don't know what to tell you. I just can't."
Hot dogs and
we
beans.
might hit fast food once a weekend for the fun of it. It's a freaking weekend, or someplace nice or whatever. But no, I prefer to cook for my children, just like I prefer to work on my own motorcycles. People ask me all the time, who's a good motorcycle mechanic in the area? And I honestly don't really know. I mean, I have a few friends that I'll recommend, but I don't. And then they'll go, well, can you work on my bike? No, I'm my mechanic, not a mechanic.
Yeah,
I can't be your
yeah.
mechanic too. Like I got my own bikes to work on. I don't know,
Your own 21 bikes to work on.
I might have picked up a few more lately, but we're not going to talk about that.
They're like bunny rabbits in your backyard. They just keep
They're
on.
not girlfriends. You can have
multiplying.
more than
Hiding in the
one.
grass.
Right.
Yeah, they just pop out of
Peeking out.
nowhere.
Yeah.
I did just finish building that one out of spare parts. So
Which one is that?
I just put one together. I've probably spent 2 or 3 months putting it together.
Now, if
It's
you
a
build one,
KZ1000.
oh, I was gonna say, if you build a bike from the ground up, like, what gives it the name? Is it the frame or the engine or the handlebars, the tires?
I think I'm going to call this one Backyard Parts, but yeah, it's a KZ1000. I'm hoping to take it next week. Next weekend, we're going out to the Howlin' Prowl, which is down in Bisbee, Arizona. I'm real excited. My friends over at Old Shit Rules, Tiny and Sam, they put that show on. Yeah, it's in Bisbee.
Oh, that's like a Memorial Day weekend kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they just have the show for but myself and a bunch of other fellow Stampeders. I'm real excited actually because I'm taking my little dude down there. It's his birthday. He'll be turning 13. So
Cool.
yeah,
Little
everyone's
adventure.
pretty excited. Oh yeah. So we're not going to be riding. I'm just going to throw him in the truck and have a nice drive through the desert. And at first I was kind of bummed. I was like, man, I don't get to ride. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of memories. I think you forget as a parent. You forget all the chats that you got to have with your dad, driving through the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of those I've missed with him. So I'm excited to just jump in the truck and head on over to Arizona. We might take the excursion. I don't know. We'll probably just take the truck.
He's turning 13, and you're
It's
going to
a
be on
big
a
one.
long car ride. You think this is the time you talk about the birds and the bees with him?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Now he's not going to go if he
Better
hears
than
this
all my
podcast.
squirrely, like freaking backer female friends telling about the birds and the bees.
Lock
so.
the doors. Son, this has nothing to do with birds or bees. And
He's
then
always like, oh my gosh, Dad.
he just wants to get out of that truck as soon as possible. He's like, what the hell? I used that thing to go to the bathroom, damn
Oh
it.
yeah. Well, and I'm well.
Sex education is very important, folks. Kids need to learn.
I was a father at 17. I wish
Yes.
somebody would have been better teaching me.
You're
about
living proof.
it. I'm living proof.
Yeah. So
I've got a daughter who looks like my sister. She's so old, or I'm so young. People confuse us sometimes. But
yeah. Abstinence
She's,
is not the answer. You got to teach those kids what not to do.
he's pretty good. I mean, I give him a lot of credit because he asks the right questions and.
Well, if he's
He's
anything
come
like
up with a few
you,
ones.
yeah.
Hopefully he's nothing like me. He's more like his mom in that regard. He's got a lot more class than I do, that's for sure. So it's going to be great. We're going to be hanging out in Bisbee, Arizona this weekend. Freaking father-son trip. I'm going to find a way to grab him a nice cake or something or pie and try not to throw it in his face. And, I told him we're going to hop over to Mexico for dinner. He's like, Dad, I can't go to Mexico. I don't have a passport. I'm like, no, we're just going to cruise over to Naco. We'll just hop over a few blocks and buy some. Dad, I can't. Okay, here's the deal, buddy. Number 1, trust your old man. Number 2, trust your old man. And, of course, in the background, I already called, like, Jer and some of the other boys. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. We're going to leave my son in Mexico and see if he gets back by himself. This is the rites of passage.
That's the rites of passage.
That's right. Little dude's being left in Mexico.
The Spartans had to go into the forest and kill a wolf. Your
That's
son
right.
has to go into Mexico
Make
and
back.
Make
it
it
back
back.
without any of us. It's going to be great.
He's got all these scratches all over him. He's like, I now know how to traverse barbed wire.
Pocket full of chiclets.
I got a poncho on.
But the tacos were good. He's got a poncho on, exactly.
Oh, yeah, he's
Nah,
got
I
a
don't-
hell of a tan.
Yeah, it'll be a nice weekend, and I'm excited to introduce him to some of the
He'll come back as
fellow
Roberto.
Stampeders. Yeah, right. I am no longer Robert. Now I am Roberto.
El Roberto.
He's a good kid, man. It's a pleasure to be his dad.
Yeah.
And similar. I mean, I've taught him to wrench, and sometimes he's like, "Ugh, okay, Dad," and he just does things, but. At the end of the day, I hope that it gives him good summer work.
Isn't he
as
your
he's
pit
growing
crew,
up.
though?
He's my crew chief.
Crew chief.
There's a big difference. He's
Yeah.
responsible for all of it.
Oh, so
man.
he doesn't actually have to do it. He just has to order everybody else what to
Yeah.
do. It's like,
Yeah, he's
do
hilarious.
that.
Especially when we're out land speed racing. I mean, I've had other people drive for me when my dad wasn't available or, when my dad passed away and I didn't. I've been at the starting line and trying to entice people to drive my chase vehicle for me because I take off and I just tell him, look, do whatever he says. And he's like 10 years old just sitting there going, yeah, I know what we're doing. Okay, don't go too fast and do it this way, go this way and go that way. And this is my favorite one was, what was it? He was probably 6 or 7. We've been out land speed racing forever, really. And my president of my club, the Roadrunner, SCTA Roadrunners Club, the president's daughter, Amanda, she holds a record. She goes like 200 miles an hour in her big Camaro. She's an educated woman. Anyway, she goes, "Oh, I'll drive for you." And he goes, my son goes, "Do you know how it works? The stick shift is here next to the steering wheel. Like you got to put it." She's going, "Oh, okay, buddy." Oh, I just died, you know. But he rocks that so much. And he knows when you're land speed racing, you're all waiting in line to go. You're all waiting in line for the course. So it's kind of like launching a boat in California to get into the water. I mean, it's a line. So you're just waiting in line for your turn. And you're only on course for a minute, you know, and then you're slowing down for half a minute, whatever. Depending on how fast you're going. I'd have to do the math. I'm probably on course for 28 seconds, you know, and then I'm slowing down. So other than that, we're just hanging out, having good family time. You know, we're camping in the dirt. It's wonderful. And you learn real quickly. He's learned how to make it all happen. And I'm really happy to have him around. 60 feet from the starting line, little dudes aren't allowed there. You have to be over 16 and a racer, but you know. So what he'll do is once we get to that point, he gets in the excursion. Well, if there's something to be done, he knows he can't put his feet on the ground. So he'll climb through the excursion out the back door, jump on the trailer, like he's got it all figured out.
Wow.
He just gets all squirrely figuring it out. You know, or he's walking on the side of the excursion on that step bar, the running boards, right? I mean, it just cracks me up. People have taken pictures of him just hanging off this excursion. "I'm not touching the ground, Dad." You know, oh man, he's rocking it. So yeah, that's one of their insurance things. They're not allowed to have little people up near the front, which I get it. You know, some of those big motor alcohol burning. I mean, it's not the place for children. Children just aren't. I mean, they'll go deaf. You know, so he hangs out. And I'm glad where he is, believe it or not. Part of my starting process is that bike does not have a charging system. So I'm tethered to the excursion. So the bike's plugged into the excursion. You know, I've got this umbilical cord. And the cord's quite long, so I can plug in the bike when it's on the trailer on the back. So he's got all this cord on the, you know, that he's winding up in the excursion on the ground or in his lap. And so when I start the bike, I'm plugged in, and I'm next to the excursion, my chase vehicle. Let's just call it my chase vehicle. I keep saying the excursion, but and when it's time to go, I unplug. I get in front of the excursion. Boy, that's the most exciting thing in the world when you're land speed racing. When Jill Shannon throws her arms up and tells me to put my face shield down on my helmet, and tells me she throws her 2 arms at me and then throws her 2 arms down course. Man, I dream of that.
Yeah.
And bam, the course is yours, you know. And you just slowly but surely, you take your time in a hurry getting that bike to go just as fast as it can go.
Casey, you do any kind of racing like that, or you just do the circles?
No, what do you mean circles?
Well, I mean like doing a track. Have you ever like done land speed where you just go in a straight line?
Just riding on the freeway.
Yeah.
That's about the longest straight lines I can. Now I'm into the corners and stuff.
Could you see yourself doing it? Or actually, I should ask.
I think MotoGP would be. I'm surprised you're not kind of out doing a little amateur MotoGP out in Chuckawalla.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I had a different bike, maybe I would be more into that. All my friends are always going to Chuckawalla. They're going to Button Willow a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it's just
aren't you made of money? You should be doing that.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me is to take the whole weekend, go out there, do a big track day. It's a little pricey, and also I would have to take my cage off every time I want to go out there to do the track day.
Well, you own wrenches. You know how to put it on and take them off.
But I could also go to Canyons, or I could go to Apex. So I like the little mini track a little better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's a wonderful thing about being here in Southern California. We've got a lot of options.
Yeah.
You know, we're really all the racing's here.
Oh, yeah.
There's some other cool stuff they do across country. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to offend anybody out there doing the Texas Mile or the Ohio Mile or any of the other. Is it the Ohio Mile? Gosh, I don't remember. Anyways, they got all sorts of cool stuff they do on the East Coast, or they're doing, quarter mile stuff. Of course, we got quarter mile stuff here too, or 1,000 meter stuff, or is it 1,000 yards? Anyways, they're doing all sorts of neat stuff all over this wonderful country. So it's pretty exciting. But I know here in Southern California, we've got a lot of option. The wonderful thing about being on course is that if you have an accident or have an issue, you don't have obstacles flying at you.
Oh yeah.
The 39 though, up to up to Crystal Lake, that's a really good one. I know my good buddy, fellow land speed racer Shinya Kimura. He came over from Japan, and at first he had a company that was in Vegas. But once he discovered that canyon, he opened up shop in Azusa. So
okay.
Chabot Engineering's over in Azusa, California. And I remember asking him, I'm like, Shinya, Azusa, why Azusa? And he just pointed up to the mountain. I'm like, I totally get it, man.
Yeah, I'm waiting for GMR to open back up. It's been maybe 2 months or more now.
What's
It's been
GMR?
closed, Glendora Mountain Road.
Oh,
it
yeah.
connects, but
Right.
that's my favorite road because there's way less people on it.
Yeah.
Nobody's really driving it so much because it doesn't really go anywhere. Like,
Right. That's the thing. It
Azusa
doesn't
dead
go anywhere.
ends,
Right.
but it goes to there's a little campground up there, and there's multiple campgrounds, and you go to GMR, way less cars.
Yeah.
Don't really worry about police because you can't even really speed technically.
No.
The speed limit's 55, and even on this
It's got these squirrely turns.
Yeah, we're on some very sharp corners, but
Right.
I mean, you can be going 40, 50 in a corner, and you're smashing through that corner, and it's just a way
Dragging
more
me.
technical road. Some people don't like it because it's technical, but that's the only reason they think it's sketchy is because it's more technical, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like the road
yeah.
conditions are actually pretty nice. There's like 2 straightaways, and we usually just chill on the straightaways and let everybody, the slower people catch up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been closed for like 2-3 months now. I'm not sure why. They just did a bicycle race this last weekend,
Through
but
it.
I think it had a lot to do with the rain.
Right.
There's a lot of
Some
landslides and
mudslides.
stuff, but man, once they open that up, I'll probably leave Azusa alone for a while because that's one thing is I went back. I think I've been back twice now since the accident. And there's a couple times where people came into my lane, and I did have like a flashback for a second. And man, I do not like that feeling. But I know at GMR it attracts less newer riders and things of that sort. So it's like, yeah, stuff can always happen. But I mean, I've had a lot less close calls at GMR, even though it's a way more curvy technical road.
Yeah, we got to get you on a track. You got to hit Chuck Wallace.
I know, I've hit Auto Club Speedway twice.
Oh, okay.
On my
Cool.
last bike.
Yeah.
And I really did
All
enjoy
the
it.
amateur, what do they call open track days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I do want to do a track day. It's just I'm a homebody. I like to ride and then go home, but like most of those days they stay the night, and then they do the whole track day, and it is fun. I'll probably do it eventually, but
Well, it's just down the road.
yeah, it's not that far.
Yeah. Just a few miles. So
Just need to plan it out, plan the whole weekend. Just kind of
have a good time with it.
just work so much.
Don't
I'm
plan
lazy.
too much. If that itinerary gets too thick, twist throttle. Get out of there. That's a downfall about land speed racing. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck there. But I enjoy, it's
Maxed
good
out.
family time.
Yeah.
It's no different than, people are like, how much do you spend a year land speed racing? I probably spend between $4,000 and $6,000 a year land speed racing. But, I'd spend that anyways if I had a camper and maybe some off-road toys, that we
just
went out and hit the hills.
different
Yeah,
types of stuff.
exactly. It's not any different. And it is a little weird, I think, raising my son around the fastest cars and motorcycles in the world. But he's so used to it. He doesn't,
I wouldn't say weird. I would say fortunate.
Yeah, maybe.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, just having some off-road vehicles and having some fun. But
Yeah.
I'm not too into that. I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. Those just aren't my types of people. Want to build and go fast? I'm in.
So Casey, between what you're doing riding and what you're doing working, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Basically, definitely still trying to ride bicycles as much as I can and motorcycles.
Nice.
Work-wise, I want to stay in the industry. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be in the motorcycle industry and now in the bicycle industry. Both of those kind of happened out of nowhere, to be honest, in my life. But I'd really like to still be somewhere in the industry. I'm kind of leaning towards either or, really. I maybe some type of mechanic job again if I came across the right person or opportunity, things of that sort. I mean,
You should aim higher. You're quite the authority. You should open up your own business. You're good at what you do.
That's
Be some
always a
kind of
hard
mix.
one.
I'm just
Yeah.
planting the seed
Yeah.
right now
I
so
know.
that I can brag about it in another 5 years. Like, I gave him that idea.
it's one of those things that would be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool. But yeah, it's just
We repair dirty bikes here and dirty bikes. You can call it dirty bikers.
yeah, like basically I see myself trying to learn as much of the new things that I didn't know before, because that's kind of how I saw my last job as a flat track mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
That the whole first year, it was almost every day to every week I was learning something I never have ever even came close to learning before. Learning something new all the time. So I kind of try to keep doing that no matter what industry I'm in, trying to get all the opportunities I can to constantly be learning new things.
Yeah.
So that I have all these things in my tool belt that I can do, and then at least that could turn into me running my own business one day. So
yeah, and you know
that would
what?
be awesome.
Learning new things, you got to keep on doing that, and you got to have the foresight to see where the industry is going. Where do you think the industry is going to go in the next 5 years, and how are you going to be part of it?
I see it actually in both industries, the motorcycle and bicycle industry. I see a lot of technology starting to intertwine more and more.
Yeah.
It's hard to find bikes these days that don't have traction control or ABS. Fortunately, with my Z650, I had the option to not get ABS, which is great. But they do have that as an option. I think you actually get cheaper insurance, too, if you get the ABS one.
Wow.
But yeah, I see a lot of technology intertwining. I mean, a couple of my friends got some of the new BMWs and the new Kawasaki's, new Yamahas. They all have all these different power modes. It's almost standard now that you have different power modes. Another big thing is the electric bikes.
Yeah.
Also, the bicycles, too. There's
Electric
a lot of e-bikes
bicycles,
now.
Yep.
But,
Although they need to have insurance, but that's another story.
Yeah, but some of those I've test driven a few, and man, some of them really take off. It's a little crazy. They take off and get you right to 20 miles an hour and stop.
Yeah.
But I mean, the technology with those is amazing. And then with the electric motorcycles too, like I feel in the next 10 years there's going to be a lot more electric motorcycles out. Right now, I think there's like Alta makes those electric dirt bikes, which are ridiculous.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
My friend has one of the Zero electric motorcycles. He likes it a lot. He said it's a really good commuter, and I mean, they have quite a bit of power. And if that's what they have right now, 10 years from now, I mean, it could be way more practical. The big thing is the money.
Yeah.
They could be a lot more affordable. I think the Alta's around like 20 grand.
Hover bikes.
15 grand, something like that. Yeah, something. I would own an electric bike. It would be cool.
I'm going to tell my Alta story. They showed up to one of the track days we were having up in, they were having up in, I think was it a Hell on Wheels? I don't remember. Anyways, they're flat track racing. Then Alta throws like 6 bikes in the ring, and all these guys jump on Altas. Well, it was probably about the second or third lap. You realize there's no sound, and these guys can talk to each other. So then it was like a baseball game. Your mother's this. Well, I did this to your mother last night. It was great. These guys are talking crap on the track. Oh, it's fabulous.
Oh, man.
And they could actually hear the audience. So for flat tracking, I think electric bikes are freaking awesome. You know, it'd be nice if. You're right. When the price comes down, you know, and it was great for Alta to go here's a bunch of bikes, go have fun. They had 6 or 8 of them out that day, up in Glen. What is it, Glen
Helen.
Glen Helen. Thank you, Glen Helen.
Yeah, I rode one of the electric Altas, or the flat track. It was all flat tracked out Alta. It was one of the guys. He usually takes it to Paris Raceway.
Cool. Yeah,
yellow. I got to ride it at my last job, and man, I rode it down the street, and holy crap, dude. I think it was on B mode or the medium speed.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And I don't know if it was just the silence of it, like all you hear is the chain, but man, it was so fast. I could not believe it, but that thing would be awesome for the street, just to ride that around. It was
yeah.
It was a cool bike.
Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing too, the crossovers. I had a roommate for a while. She's from Texas. Did I ever mention Jennifer? My roommate Jennifer, her wife Rhoda. Yeah, they cruised in. They're, in their mid-20s and wanted to come to California. She is a freaking, off-road motorcycle rider. And this young woman just blew my mind, the crazy stuff. She'd just fly through the air on her dirt bike. And so she got to ride an Alta, and it was the same thing. I mean, it's just absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, it's instant power.
Instant
like a little
power.
RC car.
Like a Tesla, how they
Oh,
go
just
0
like
to
that,
60 in a second.
It's ridiculous.
It'll give you a headache.
And the maintenance, too, is pretty low on those, which is also pretty nice. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people like that.
I ought to learn some of that so that you can transition into I mean, there probably aren't many Alta mechanics yet.
Yet.
And maybe
you know,
there-
give it time, man.
Maybe there's a UTI course or
well,
something.
and
like
the
that.
cross country thing is an old theory that Ford and Edison had. And that was simply that if you need to go cross country on an electric machine, you simply go 200 miles, whatever the batteries will do, 100 miles, and then you trade out your batteries. You get a fresh set of batteries. So instead of having gas stations, you have battery stations. So it's not. It's gonna happen. You know. Again, this is something Edison and Ford came up with.
So instead of charging your battery, you change out
you just
your
change
battery.
them out. That's
Like a
right.
So it just takes a
Pre-charged
second,
one.
like
That's
click,
right.
click,
Oh, okay.
and then you just
You
go.
pull up to the station. Some guys come out. They take your old battery out. They give you a freshly charged battery. Now they're charging your old battery for the next guy.
like a
Probably have like
propane
some
tank.
certain standard sizes maybe or
Exactly.
something. Yeah.
Exactly.
I could
Industry
see
has to
that.
come together and do that.
I mean, 10 years ago from now, there was barely anything like that. We had, like terrible little Priuses barely putting around.
And
People
now, yeah.
laughing at them. And
Now the
No.
Tesla is like a spaceship. If
Oh,
you've ever
man.
been in one.
Well, and we all
Ridiculous.
know, and it's all conspiracy theory, but we used to have these great electric, public transportation cars that went all over the place. And then next
Oh,
thing
yeah.
you know, GMC came in and replaced them all with, smoke spewing buses instead. And the buses held less people than the electric cars did. So how did this happen? We don't know, but it starts in one city and all these councilmen are driving new Cadillacs for some reason. And they
Yeah.
just slowly made their way. It was a great, GM just killed it in that and selling these big buses that they were taking over the country in. And that was, in the 20s and 30s, really. So it's going to come a time where the electric industry, electric mobile industry, people like Elon Musk, Alta, Zero, all these great companies are going to do exciting things. And they started with cars because that's what uses a fuel, so that's what people are sold on. But eventually,
Trucks,
yeah,
Trucks,
yeah.
maybe
Eventually,
aircraft soon.
well, trucks were when this house was built. I got pictures of it in my old 1912 Craftsman. I got pictures of this house being built on the houses in the neighborhood. But guess what? The trucks that delivered the parts, they were battery powered, people.
Wow.
It was literally just a whole bank of batteries under it. And there's a picture that I need to find, but it's got that, and then it's got 2 horse-drawn carriages delivering supplies as well. But it wasn't, electricity is not new.
there's those electric UPS trucks around for a while, and then I don't know what happened to those.
Yeah, my
really?
brother had one delivering Red Bull too, and it had a few problems, and they ended up getting rid of it, which is really sad.
I
but-
thought the Red Bull car runs on Red Bull. It gives you
Right.
wings.
It gives you wings.
You know the conspiracy theory that I remember hearing, and this is back when I was in 6th grade. I was reading a Popular Mechanics.
Cool nerd,
and-
nerd alert. Just
and-
kidding. I had a subscription too.
And so the thing I was reading in Popular Mechanics is they were saying that they had developed a gas engine that goes 150 to 200 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, it can be done.
And that wasn't talk. Like, they actually had the prototype that worked. And you know who bought it? The gas companies.
Amazing.
And they booked it. They just basically put it on the back shelf and said, we don't want this engine. It's going to take away our money. Or, we won't get as much money. And so they fought that. They just shelved it. And then there's that one guy who made the car that runs on water, and he mysteriously died, and his plans disappeared. So
Now we're getting dark and deep.
yeah. So
It's all
it's-
possible.
Well, the first internal combustion engine made by a French guy ran on hydrogen. So you take water, add electrolysis to it. It's not hard to make hydrogen. The problem is you need a lot. And hydrogen is not it's not dangerous when it's being made. It's dangerous when you store it. And that's why everyone's afraid of hydrogen.
Yeah, we've
But
seen
I've
the
messed around with
Hindenburg.
hydrogen technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see what happens when you use hydrogen.
Oh, the humanity,
Yeah,
the
right.
humanity.
Germany was just real busy. They absolutely did not want to buy helium from the USA because that's the only place.
Yeah, it was really expensive.
From.
So the USA is kind of responsible for the Hindenburg going down, as well as the other
Indirectly.
aircraft. There was more Zeppelins that were bigger crashes, but that was the first one that was like on film, so that's the one everybody remembers.
yeah.
But
Well,
there was a
and-
lot that people died because of the
And Zeppelins
hydrogen.
were gigantic. They were 4 times the size of the blimps
Yeah.
you see now, and we don't think about. But
They
the
were a
Empire
cruise ship.
State, the Empire State Building. Guess what? Guess what's at the top? An airport.
yeah to dock a Zeppelin.
Right. That's why it was built like that.
Who'd have thought they were flammable?
Well, they weren't with the helium.
No, helium's not
They're
too
fine.
flammable, but hydrogen, yeah. So we all get afraid of it. So it'll be real exciting. I'm real glad gasoline's around. The power that it puts out is just absolutely amazing. You get so much power from a gallon of gasoline. What we forget is that we only see about 30% of the power that our engines actually put out at the rear wheel, because an engine can make a ton of power, but just the way they're designed and the way it goes into the transmission and then goes to the chain, et cetera, we just don't get it all. So, okay, that's the energy lesson for the day. Let's talk about cool stuff. Oh, I'm going to share. Last weekend, hit up a cool show out in Joshua Tree called the Nowhere Show. It was quite exciting. I guess this is their second year. It's out on this guy's farm, man. It was really cool. Just kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. It reminded me of good old freaking motorcycle shows. There were a few like big name sponsors, Indian, Biltwell, Converse, and then some of the little guys were there as well. Tobacco wares and some other cool little people. But, it was great to catch up with friends. The Nowhere Show. I hope they have another one next year. We shall see. Joshua Tree. Always enjoy a good ride through the desert. Some people are afraid to ride through the desert, I've heard. But, boy, man, I love it. I don't know what my problem is.
I don't know what their problem is. I love Joshua Tree.
Yeah,
I
some
guess people go there for the rock climbing and stuff and not the motorcycle riding.
Yeah, don't get too close to the trees. But
Yeah.
they've got some great straight roads, a little bit of dirt.
Mm-hmm. We always stay at the boulders. Well, when we went, we like to stay there. It was fun. We got to go camping.
Yeah, camp all you want. We just hopped up there for the day and came back. It was pretty nice. It's Joshua Tree. It's not very far.
Did you do some acid? Like the Doors and
let
all
me
the other
think.
rock stars that go out there? You too?
Yeah, no. Well, I'll tell you, for me, it's
Peyote?
For me, it's this. It's that memory of being a child in the motorhome and my dad heading out to Parker. We'd go to Parker, gosh, every other weekend. It was just phenomenal. And, the way you get to Parker is you go down the 10 to Blythe and you make a left. Not my dad. He wanted to go up through Joshua Tree. So we climbed that hill in this big old Winnebago. And, search out for roadrunners, man. And a few times I got to see a few good ones. A few times I was too busy talking. My dad would point them out and I'd miss them.
Like real road runners, not
Oh,
American
yeah.
road runners?
No,
not the
real road
motorcyclers.
runners.
But
Even when I was down in Mexico, I was pulling into the camp there where everyone was. And it was right after we'd gotten done racing on that those few acres of dirt there across from the camp. And there was a roadrunner there running next to me then, too.
was there a
I enjoy it.
coyote with an Acme rocket pack chasing it?
I just, and that was a funny thing. Yeah, there wasn't. And I just stopped and enjoyed this Mexican roadrunner hanging out there, man.
Yeah, they're cool.
He didn't speak Spanish. He didn't speak any language. He just hung out. I'm a big fan of the birds, but that's where it all started. Back in the day, cruising through Joshua Tree, trying to get over to Parker.
And what's a group of road runners called again?
A marathon.
A marathon of road runners.
Marathon of road runners. Holy heck. Casey, thanks for sitting around and shooting the crap with us.
Yeah, man.
Telling
Thanks for
some
having
good
me.
stories.
Yeah,
It'll
you're-
be very exciting to see what you do in the future.
Casey is my
Appreciate it.
neighbor. I'm so glad that we met and we were able to bring you in. And again, congratulations.
Hit your IG again, Casey.
KC Rider 187.
Casey Rider 187. Find him on the gram.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Outro. Good music. Enjoy. Meek. This has been American Roadrunner Podcast.